Hey guys, welcome to the channel and welcome to another episode of Chatter from the Vox. This is our weekly podcast that goes out live normally every Sunday or Monday out on Twitch. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can head on over to Twitch and follow us. All you have to do is search for Warhammer Liam, click follow, and you can find us on Twitch and then join us live on the Sunday or Monday. The Twitch homepage, as does the Facebook banner, normally have our schedule on it. It's normally up to date if I can be bothered. And it will give you all the dates that we stream, and then you can come and find us and watch us live. And you won't see it right now because we have another camera on, but normally we've got a chat that fills up with questions and comments and stuff, and we are able to engage with people live, especially when we're talking about specific topics that people can get quite passionate about. Tonight we are joined by three legends. So we have the two channel regulars. We've got Mikey Brom and Mikey P.
Hiya.
And then the rose between the two thorns, we have Chris, who, if you are in Discord, if you're one of the patrons, it's Warsmith Chris, and he's come and join Warhammer HQ for the day just to hang out and build some hobby and etc. etc. So he thought he'd hang around and do the podcast as well, which is really, really cool.
Nice.
Yep.
There you go. Come and visit Warhammer HQ. You get to join in the podcast, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to be discussing a random hobby-based topic tonight because we've covered loads of like competitive stuff and rule stuff and like current meta stuff. So I thought, screw it. Let's just talk something pure hobby for a night, and it just gives us an opportunity to ramble for an hour or two. So that's what we're going to do. If you are joining us live on Twitch, obviously feel free to drop comments in the chat, and if we can get back to you, we can. Mikey P can't because he can't be bothered to log in.
No.
So he won't be responding to you.
Password problems.
But otherwise, I can read them out to you anyway, so you'll be able to know what they are.
Yeah, it's all good.
And obviously on YouTube, feel free to drop comments below, and one of us normally tries to get back to you sometime soon, although we're very busy, so we do try.
Yeah.
I think that covers all of that almost. Mikey P, the legend, with one of our other patrons, Andy Byrne, are off on a charity walk next month.
We are.
And in the month of July, they're walking 100 kilometres for charity.
Yes.
100 kilometres for charity.
It's coming up. It's
I know.
very close now.
Have you figured out how far that actually is
4
yet?
weeks.
I don't know if you're sweating is because it's coming up or... Anyway, I will drop a link in the YouTube video description below that takes you to their Just Giving fundraising page.
Yes.
And you can feel free to drop some money in there.
Bung us some pennies.
Yeah, for Andy and Mike to do their 100k walk. It is 100k, isn't it?
100k.
Yes, and it's for Parkinson's UK, so it's a
is.
very, very valid, very valid charity as well for Parkinson's UK. So show them some love. Warhammer has already donated nearly 300 quid, and we did a massive whip round for Andy Byrne because of the very first event that he organised, which is Weekend at Bernie's 1. And I kept asking him what he wanted, and he's finally decided that what he wants is all the money donated. So you've just earned yourself another £100. However, I couldn't just donate the money because then he didn't get anything. So he's going to donate the £100 additionally, and I've got him some extra goodies.
Sweet.
And we're doing a Warhammer Patrons behind the scenes video with Andy tomorrow to show you what he's got. So
nice.
For you Patreons, look out for that. That covers all of that rubbish, I think. Yeah, happy?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So tonight's topic, I thought what we might talk about, because it's interesting actually, more than anything, and it gives us excuses to ramble for hours, is what are our favourite factions and why? So you basically get the chance to pick one each. I don't even know what we're asking, Brom, to be fair. If I ask you what chapter you like, Brom, you can't just say blue. It doesn't. That's not how it works.
Yeah, be a little bit more specific.
Yeah.
Blue is a chapter.
So and obviously we've got this new webcam set up now. We've got 2 cameras, and eventually we'll green screen you lot out as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So we'll just be mouths.
Yeah.
We wear like green stockings.
You'll be just a beard.
Yeah.
Talking head beard. That'll be it.
Can't wait.
Some of those
Amazing.
morph suits.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, morph suits. Right.
Max Vane has already commented and said it looks like the economy version of Blind Date. That's brilliant. That's amazing.
Oh dear. Blind date where nobody wins.
Nobody wins, yeah. That's my favourite comment ever.
All they get is a
Twitch.
limp for morning after.
Cool, so I thought perhaps, Mikey P, you might start us off since you were epically late, so I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Alright, what's my favourite?
So you must have a favourite faction in 40k.
Yeah. Probably do.
Right, okay.
It's going to be a really long chat.
Well, no. Obviously, I got Nid Army. I enjoy playing with Nids. They are fun, and it's always nice to play for the winning side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what? But if they're
gonna win.
So would you call Nids your favourite?
I don't know. Probably not. I mean, historically, I've always really liked Eldar and all the Eldar factions. So
Right.
I did think about doing a Drukhari army quite recently, and decided it would be too much like hard work.
They're a tough army to build and paint, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of fiddly little bits and pieces. So I didn't do that in the end. But I do really like Eldar races. I like the backstory. I like the fact they're sort of dying race, and you know we've talked before like Lord of the Rings elves as well.
Always enjoyed the elves like fantasy type of influence, right?
Yeah, and I've always enjoyed fantasy really more than sci-fi actually. So elves is always something I've been interested in. Whenever I've played like MMOs, I've always been the elf races and stuff in those. So yeah, I would say it's probably Eldar.
More than Nids?
More than Nids, I would say, yeah. I'm enjoying the Nids, and there are various reasons why I chose them. It was kind of to do something completely different. Like I've always picked sort of goodies. I wanted a baddie sort of faction.
Yeah.
And I quite fancy doing just a horde of Gribblies, faceless monsters. And the narrative is pretty straightforward as well.
They are going to win.
Your narrative is really straightforward, Mike.
It is,
right?
yeah.
It's just scree.
Just cartoon of scree.
That was what you submitted, I think, for Weekend at Bernie's one as well.
Yeah.
As your actual narrative.
It was more in depth actually for both of the No Surrenders, but not by a huge margin.
No, it was just a slightly longer scree, wasn't it?
No, I actually wrote some words.
Rich Thompson, who's now Rich Skinner but hasn't changed his name, says the winning side. What's Mikey P's win rate with Nids versus 40s Orcs?
It's pretty narrow.
Yeah. I mean, as an overall Xenos race, they're probably the winning side, Rich. But when Mike's in charge, perhaps not so much.
No, try to be too clever, you see.
It's the Orcs. It must be his bogey army because he also took on Winters' Orcs, didn't he?
Yeah, and got panned there as well.
Yeah.
Don't enjoy the Orcs. It's like I've got a sort of fairly well-rounded force, so it's got a bit of shooting in it, quite a bit of board control is what I tend to go for, and obviously combat with some Gene Stealers, and against an all-out combat Orc army,
So what about Eldar does he actually like? Is it?
Well, I quite enjoy the sort of dying race thing that they sort of basically they've lost their entire empires because of the folly of their own excesses. So that's quite an interesting concept.
And they're pointy men.
And they're pointy as well.
Yeah.
And smooth in all the right places.
Yeah.
And live. Yeah.
See, I'm a massive fan of the Eldar race as well. I wouldn't necessarily know if they're my favourite faction as such. They're definitely one of my favourites, certainly. And I think I massively agree with you that it's that sort of fantasy-based influence on the Eldar races, because the Eldar races are essentially an elven race. I'm sure most of you already know. They are an elven race, and obviously throughout all of the fantasy lore that we've ever been subjected to throughout history, whether it's things like Lord of the Rings or anything similar to that, has an elven race in it, right?
Yeah.
And fantasy Warhammer used to have an elven race in it, and even Age of Sigmar to this day has elven type races in it, and in terms of like the Ideneth Deepkin and whatever. I think they've announced that maybe the High Elves are coming soon or something.
Yeah, I think they're sort of in the pipeline after the Silver.
They kind of hinted at it, at least, don't they? So
that's it. And they're always kind of like really long lived, if not eternal, and they're always like super quick and strong and
I like the Wraiths
and all that.
The Wraiths?
Yeah, the
Wraith constructs.
Yeah, the Wraith constructs.
They're cool.
That's probably my favourite.
Yeah, they're quite cool. The Ghost and the Shell type jobbies. Yeah. But also I think they've got the best looking vehicles of any faction as well. All the sleek. All the kind of sleek stuff.
I will go on record as saying at this very point in time, you don't need to rage quit and turn your computer off, Winters. We will soon talk about something other than Eldar. But yeah, I agree. They have got the sexy speakers out there.
We're going to keep talking about Eldar, aren't we?
I mean, you're right.
I don't necessarily agree, but that's because why it's your hobby.
I'm shocked, Brom.
Yeah, I know, but it's why your hobby. It's your hobby. I mean, if you get some blue ones, then maybe I'll be okay with it. But
a LATOG.
Yeah, I'm all right with the
LATOG. You're LATOG. Oh, right, you are. You might be the only person on the internet who's okay with the LATOG Eldar.
Yeah, but I don't think Brom has it in his blood to be cheese with them. That's probably why.
That's probably fair.
The thing is, though, with Eldar, do you think perhaps that one of the reasons you might not have stuck them on the tabletop may also be because you were perhaps unable to represent them in the way that you would like because of because of things like aspects being all fine cast and stuff?
Yeah, that too. I mean, all the bits that I'd like to play, like Striker Scorpions and Banshees and Fire Dragons and stuff, they're all a bit pants on the tabletop, and B, they're all fine cast. And we don't really mind pants on the channel, do we? To be fair, no.
You let me on all the time.
Yeah, Brom plays regularly.
That's a fair point, well made.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but I do quite like them. Yeah, I think they're a cool race. I always enjoyed the aesthetic. I remember the first time I played it when I was a kid, like the Viper came out, and that was such a cool vehicle. Just the look of it.
It's the same one now, I think.
Yeah, it's the same kit. Yeah, I think it is.
I've had 3 Kelgars since.
Yeah, there you go. Not one of them on the channel.
Let's not do that.
Don't kick the hornet's nest.
Yeah, please let's not. Is it just Eldar in general? Like, because obviously Eldar are split currently into 3 separate factions, right?
Yeah, I like that about it as well. It's like the different aspects and sides of them. You've got the sort of pious Asciani, and then you've got the depraved.
Pious? How dare you, sir?
Yeah. So yeah, I like that. The Harlequins are a bit of a strange one as well. It's just I like the idea of that as the wandering troop, and every once in a while they kind of turn up and they do a bit of like fancy pants acting, and some evil demons.
Out of the 3 Eldar factions, I have to say that Harlequins are in fact my favourite, and I would happily have a Harlequins army over a Crafold Eldar army if I could paint diamonds.
Yeah, if you were a complete masochist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I hated myself, I would probably have Harlequins. In fact, and then people like Gwyn bring his Harlequins over.
Oh no, it's sickening.
I want to quit the hobby, but they are at that point. I mean, Harlequins are probably my most favourite faction out of the 3 of the Eldar races. Interestingly, not my favourite faction, but they are probably my favourite out of the 3. I love their story. I love the Harlequin story compared to even normal Crafold Eldar.
Yeah, and like they have some really cool models. I mean, the Solitaire, that is such a sweet model, and like the rules and the lore behind the Solitaire is so cool. I think I might just buy a Solitaire just to have one, just to paint it, just spend like as much time as I can possibly manage on it.
Yeah.
But then recently I've just finished painting my warband for Underworld's Ilthari's Guardians, so they're elves basically.
Yeah.
Tree
spirit
things.
elves.
They're cool.
They're really good.
They're really awesome models, absolutely amazing models. I really enjoy painting those actually.
This is controversial as well, but I think that on the whole, AOS probably has a nicer model range than 40k on the whole.
Exactly going to say. Yeah, exactly what I was going to say.
So it's a fair comment to make.
Yeah, and that's probably why, because have had some of the more recent. I mean, to be fair, when you look at some of the more recent Chaos sculpts, the Space Marine, the new Primaris sculpts. I know I'm not a Primaris fan, but you look at the sculpts and they are, compared to old Marines, they're just better.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you look at like the push fit versus the old Mini Marines, I mean, they're the Primaris Marines, the sculpts are so much better. They really are.
I got some of the new Orc vehicles for Christmas.
Oh yeah,
and put one of them together, and they're amazing as well.
Yeah.
Exactly the same principle as it.
Yeah, all the
very
kits.
Few mould lines.
Yeah. The original Quipster says, as someone who is currently painting 2,000 points of his friend's Eldar, totaling 110 models, I can tell you that the Eldar model range is one of the most pleasurable to paint.
Oh, okay.
That's quite nice. What I did do today, actually, I picked up some
Yeah.
Blood Angels Red Contrast today.
Oh, did you?
Yes, because I have 30 odd Guardians for the Simhan that I want to paint, and I didn't fancy doing it the old way that I painted the red. And with Rod and the GW store in Southampton, we did a little bit of a trial of Blood Angels Red, and Blood Angels Red Contrast over the Seer Grey is actually very impressive.
Yeah.
Some of the colours I played with today were not so impressive.
Yeah, some like the yellows are quite
hard. They can be, if you let them pool, they look awful.
See, I don't know. I think I'm not. I don't know. I'm testing this. I mean, I've played with them. I had a go on a Plague Marine at Fest, but what a lot of people are saying is you're not putting enough on. Like really, like glob it on.
I did that with
and
the
then
reds.
let it dry. And it will look better.
And Rod said to me, put it on thick, sit with it for 10 seconds, and use your brush with essentially a clean brush to pull away when it pulls, and then let it settle. And the result was really good. I was really impressed. So much so that after I'd already spent some money and I was getting ready to leave, but my wife was too busy looking to buy a violin, which she can't play.
Yet.
Well, yeah. And
Well,
apparently the person in the violin shop says it only takes about a year to learn. Yay!
In the meantime, you're going to really enjoy that.
Yeah. So what we might start doing is the old silent movie type battle reports, because you're not going to want an audio one, I'll tell you that much.
I don't know, it might fit in with the apocalyptic thing.
But yeah, I bought the bits I wanted to buy without spoiling it, and at that point he was like, I was chatting to the store manager at GW Southampton, and I was talking to him about Contrast, and they had an amazing, like, he was blown away by the response, because he said to his store assistants, like, it's not going to be that bad this weekend, and troves of people came through the door. He said he was replacing pots on the shelves, and as soon as they were going on, they were coming off again, to the point where they sold out of certain colours that day, and they still haven't been restocked. And so we had a little bit of a play with the ones he had, because he's obviously got a supply of them for people to try out. And I had a go, and I was honestly, some of the colours I was really impressed. Some of them, like you've already mentioned, I wasn't so blown away. But to do things like Guardians and stuff as well now, because Guardians as a model, so obviously we're still talking about Eldar, are such that they probably lend themselves quite well to something like Contrast.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, because they've got sort of like there's no big smooth areas on them.
No.
But they're sort of small areas and they're sort of
lots of little bumps
broken.
and lots of ways for the
exactly.
contrast to work in.
Yeah. So
Where I think
it'd be good for
with
that.
some work, I think they'll look really good on Power Armor too.
Yeah.
But currently, if you just put it on Power Armor, a lot of the results I've seen aren't. I don't think they're amazing.
The darker colours, especially on Power Armor, seem to struggle.
Oh, really?
I tried them at Warhammer World last week, and
Did you try the black?
no, I tried Dark Angels Green, and no
Yeah.
matter how thick I put it on, it was oily and smeary.
Okay.
It didn't work the same way as the other colours seem to work.
There's a lot of variables, I think, as well. Because I saw the guys in the video actually with the lab coat and that in the contrast video. He was at the fest, and he actually, I've got a video of him slapping some Dark Angels on top of the Wraithbone. And it looked on the arm and that, where it's the panels on the arm, it looked really good.
Okay.
But I didn't see it dry on the
I might just be
pauldrons.
really bad at painting
Well,
contrast.
or it might even be as simple as like really shaking the pot or something like
that's,
that. You know,
that's a
things
massive
like that.
thing though.
Yeah.
So I played with the I can't remember what it's called, but I think it's Apothecary White or something.
Yeah.
So I had to play with that, and I said this is all right. It's not great. And he took the pot upside down, and all the pigment settles at the bottom.
Yeah.
And he said, "You know how you shake your paints?" He said, "You have to really shake these.
Yeah, like
you have
go
to
crazy.
really get the contrast pigment working in, and then use it, and then you'll see the results completely different." So I did it, and painted a different bit, and was more impressed.
Yeah.
So I think there is, although GW are marketing it as this amazing, easy to do sort of tool, and it is, there is some sort of nuances to it that you have to, which is different to normal painting.
And that's, I mean, you say it is different to normal painting. It's not quite so crucial, but with a lot of the washes, for example, if you don't shake like Nuln Oil or Agrax very much, they come out a bit glossy.
They do, yeah.
So yeah, you got to really shake them up to make sure you get the good,
Especially
matte
the
finish.
gloss ones.
Does it matter too much about or how much of an effect do the two base colours have? So the Seer and the Wraithbone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are they
They
completely
really
different?
change the tone, yeah.
Yeah.
It warms it or makes it cooler.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it, yeah.
I
So
haven't
the
seen
Wraith-
them
the
yet,
white
so-
one is neutral.
Yeah, because basically the Wraithbone is like yellow,
Okay.
and the grey Seer is blue, effectively. So one warms, one cools.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah.
And you get two different effects. And I've been told, and I haven't
Yeah.
tried this yet, so people of YouTube, don't take this as gospel and do it. But I have been told that you can spray with, say, a white, like ceramite white or something, or whatever the white
Corax,
is,
yeah.
Corax white, or alternatives that people can get from other places. And if you do something like gloss varnish it first, because you then seal and smooth that paint off, you can then contrast over white, and you get a different colour again.
Yeah.
I've been told that if you use normal standard base sprays and put it over that, they're a lot more, although you can't necessarily see it to the naked eye, they're a lot more grainy,
Yeah.
and therefore it pools in different places and it has a real nasty effect. And I know I've seen some images of people that have used basic Corax white and then no glossing and put contrast on, and it does look a bit messy.
It's,
I mean,
it's why you
Corax
hard
is-
coat, isn't it? Before
Yeah,
you
well,
put
yeah.
your transfers on.
Corax is crap
Or-
anyway, to be honest.
Anyway,
Seal.
As a spray.
this
as
isn't
well.
talking about Eldar.
Yeah, no. So Eldar, I like Eldar. Who's next?
It is hobby.
So Eldar are cool.
Yeah.
You are right. Their vehicle range is quality. I do think that the law's pretty cool. I know I know Winters gets very passionate about the fact that they're apparently to blame for everything, but I like that law. I like that sort of sordid history to them.
I mean, he's not wrong, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's too late now, isn't it?
But that's for Mikey P. Your favourite faction is Eldar,
Yeah, let's go with it.
and it's because of fantasy connections, basically.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
Right. Sweet. Okay.
As I prepared.
So Chris, now tell us about
Let's-
Eldar and your
let's-
favourite.
So let's move on to Patreon Chris, or we'll call you Warsmith Chris tonight.
Yeah,
Why not?
Warsmith Chris, thanks.
So what's your
It's a bit of a
favourite?
clue there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
What's your favourite 40k faction?
You know what? I actually, Orcs might be up there in terms of the background, the story, the flavour of Orcs, but it's going to be Chaos. I'm going to
Okay.
say Chaos.
That's interesting because I have a theory, but go on.
Okay. Well,
This is going to work out well, actually.
The
Isn't
four Chaos Gods,
Three main
iconic,
factions.
right? They're iconic parts of the 40k lore.
Yes, massively.
it? Yeah. He's dying a little bit inside over there. He's just like,
I also think he's presuming he knows what I'm going to say.
yes, I am.
Yeah, you probably. Yeah, sorry, Chris.
Should you
Continue.
No,
No.
crack.
I don't know what's going on.
If Brom picks something different to what I think he picks, then he ruins my theory. So he needs to be on
Okay.
point, or
Alright.
he's
I
sacked.
think
Oh.
the ground will crack open and
Yeah.
hell will
So go on. Anyway,
swallow
let's
all
let
this.
Chris talk about his favourite faction.
Yeah,
Mikey P.
okay.
Chaos.
Right. Chaos. Yeah, I'm getting more into Chaos. I'm turning to the Dark Gods. You know, you've got those four distinct things going on. You know, the Chaos Gods.
Yeah.
Each bringing something different to the table. Creates a whole theme for each army that goes with it. You've got the undivided theme. Well, it gives you lots of options, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then I picked a Iron Warriors which don't use any of those. And
that was.
To be fair, you could have had Dark Angels. You could have had any of them.
To be quite frank, Iron Warriors have their own individual flavour, don't they?
They do.
To be fair, they're not just any old.
Yeah, so they're still Chaos. They still use Chaosy stuff, and they're using it as.
They're Chaos Imperial Fists, aren't they? That's what
they are. Chaos Imperial Fists.
Yeah,
only easier to paint.
Yeah, a lot easier.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so
why did you pick Iron Warriors?
Because they are Chaos Imperial Fists and they're really easy to paint.
And they used to be able to take basilisks and now they can't. Is that
right? They can't. Yeah.
I'm really sad they lost that.
Yeah. So
I think they should because they are supposed to be. They're supposed to like thunder down.
Yeah. Well, the artillery. Yeah.
So I've tried to recreate that by taking really uncompetitive choices like the whatever it's called that I took.
Leviathan.
The Vindicator. What did you have?
The Leviathan, which is a terrible, non-cheesy choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is a really fair choice. So
the
Vindicator,
It was Vindicator,
Chaos Vindicator, which performance-wise, not great, but
it's really
it
Iron
looks
Warriors.
really Iron Warriors. I've got like hazard stripes on the.
I sometimes think that when someone puts an arm on the table, it's almost, not always, it's almost easy to see whether they're kind of a narrative player or a bit more of a power gamer.
By how many Eldar flies they put down.
Pretty much it.
With their Iron
Warriors.
No,
I'm not suggesting that anyone who optimises their list is necessarily a power gamer as such. But if you're prepared to take an Iron Warriors army with Vindicators, you're probably more of a narrative player.
Yeah,
right?
Like, Iron Warriors really like obliterators as well, don't they? So I've got to just take loads of those really naff obliterators that no one should take.
What mark did you put on them?
They're really into like loud noises.
Yeah.
They're Slanesh. Right? I'm not gonna.
Right.
They love loud noises and reach arounds.
They do. Yeah. I think if I'm going to make some less competitive choices, I'm going to put a mark of Slanesh on my obliterators. So
what you're saying is the Vindicator's a tax for your mark Slanesh obliterators.
It's so that I don't feel it.
When someone looks at those three obliterators and goes, "Are they Iron Warriors with a mark of Slanesh?" Yeah, but I've got a Vindicator.
That's called having a strategy.
Yeah. No, because we put it this way, right? And I can't remember who did this first, but I saw it on a video somewhere. There was like before the battle, these guys are sort of Chaos Undivided, right? But they use Chaos, and they still have to have some interaction with the Chaos gods.
Yeah.
So if you're an Iron Warrior who are all about logic and strategy, they might be like, well, if we pray to Slanesh, we can fire more guns, and it's good. And I need that. I want my obliterators.
It's full narrative, Chris.
Full narrative. There. You go. See.
Yeah. Love it. Balls deep.
Yeah.
So interestingly, obviously, I already said I was a fan of the Eldar race when I was talking to Mikey, but I'm, as everyone's well aware, I'm a massive fan of the Chaos race as well. Obviously, so for me, I don't know why or what it is, but I'm a big fan of the bad guy. I like bad guys and underdogs. That's what I like. I don't like the good guys. I've never been a fan of the good guys. I've always been a bad guy person, and I really like that bad guy thing. But what I like about Chaos and Chaos Marines specifically, not so much demons, but Chaos Marines, or Heretic Astartes as we now call them, is that they are kind of purist, if you know what I mean. They're not shielded by this faith.
There's no ambiguity, is it? They're just nasty.
Yeah, and they are, everything about them is necessary, is to some extent the truth. You know, it's not shielded behind. So when you talk the Imperium and you talk about the Astartes and the Custodes and whatever, basically they're shielding and protecting humanity from these horrors.
Whilst
and heretics just embrace the whole thing, and they're aware of it all, and they let it sort of flow. You know,
I think they're sort of a lot purer of focus.
I think I'm the only bloke who watches Star Wars and wants the Sith to win. That's who I am.
Yeah, you're evil.
Once you've read Talon of Horus, then
have you read the other one as well, Black Legion #2?
Yeah. No, sorry. I'm about 3/4 of the way through.
So if you are a fan of Chaos and you haven't, especially Black Legion, you haven't read Talon of Horus and then Black Legion by Aaron Dembski Bowden, Bowden.
Meh.
Go out there and
Him.
read those
ADB.
two books.
It will change your mind. It will change your mind. It will change how you think about chaos.
That's 100% true as well.
And
Because
then you'll-
people seem to have this view of chaos as being writhed in demons and stabbing each other constantly, and they have this view of world eaters as always having the butcher's nails and they're just slaughtering. That's not how they work. That's not how chaos works. And aboard a chaos battle barge, there are times where it's no different to being aboard an Imperial battle barge. Really.
Apart from the creatures coming out of the walls. And
Yeah,
a little bit.
man.
slime pouring out.
Gloss over
Hedgehogs.
that,
Yeah,
Hedgehogs.
I live down
spiky
south. We've got
bastards.
creatures coming out the walls all the time.
Gotcha. Yeah. But no, the Iron Warriors are interesting anyway, because they'll just sort of use whatever chaos elements, suits their purposes, really. They don't align themselves with a particular god, but, they're not above kind of,
And they're always thinking about logic,
Favours.
and tactics, and how they're going to...
The only book I've ever read with Iron Warriors in, they took the castle early, and it was a brave, bold bloke that went up and pushed his force up this west flank and climbed over the top, and he did fail kind of to get in, but he was supported, and then Perturabo turned up and slapped him down, made him a recruit.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I know that one.
Okay.
I know the one you're talking about. Yeah,
It's one
and
where
he leaves a bunch of Imperial fists who are
Alive.
nearly dead.
yeah.
He just watches them for a while, and it's like, this is what happens if you don't do it properly.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, they should be dead already.
Yeah.
We've Stoon B. Hoover said, "Why is Brom so tiny? Is he sitting on the naughty chair?"
Like,
Yeah.
we're just big.
Yes, he's sitting on the naughty chair. It's got nothing to do with the fact that I had to make their names go in alphabetical order. It's got nothing to do with that at all. Honest.
I could try and... Oh, no, I'm not.
Do you need a booster seat?
Ridley says,
we do
Chaos
have
aren't a race, they're scum. Andy H says, are there any good guys in 40k? I think there is a single race of good guys in 40k.
Go on.
We'll touch that now.
Orcs.
There is only Grim
Nids.
Darkness. Loken's a good guy.
It's nature, right?
Brom will
Nature.
definitely agree that Loken is
Yeah.
a good guy. Brom loves Loken, don't you? Brom wants to be Loken.
Garviel.
Garviel is
That's what
amazing.
They're
He
on
is
first
the
name
only
terms.
good guy.
First name terms.
Isn't Loki
He
a
is.
bad guy?
Loken
No.
is from the Sons of
What?
Horus.
He's not a bad guy.
No, I was just...
Yeah. Heretic Hedgehogs, brilliant.
Don't bring the Avengers into this. What? Yeah.
Does your preference change of how good the army is at the moment, or how much playtime your army gets?
Go
See,
on,
for
Chris.
me, in terms of favourite faction, I don't think it does. But I think for some it would be, because I think if your favourite faction is one that gets pounded into the dust constantly, you may fall out of love with that faction if you're not enjoying playing with it, right? But I'm trying to focus on, not only because this question, it's interesting so far, because both of you have touched on, so Mikey P and his Eldar and Chris and his Chaos have both touched on just the lore, which I love. I absolutely love the fact that you've gone lore. Neither of you have touched on how good they are on the tabletop at the moment, or I mean, we know we've joked about obliterators, but you've gone, I like them because of this reason, which has nothing to do with how they play.
Yeah, well, really, I mean, if you're gonna be a sort of all-round hobbyist in the game, the only way to choose your army is Rule of Cool, isn't it?
I
mean, you can choose for
100%.
power, but then you're a tournament player. But if you're invested in all elements of the hobby and you enjoy the setting and the rest of it, and it's not just a game to you; it's a full-on hobby. Then, Rule of Cool. Sure.
But can you not see the point? I'm going to defend this though. Can you not see the point that if you have an army, say your army is your favourite army, is
Necron.
Necrons is a great choice right now, actually. So Necrons are popular to some people. Some people will think that they've got absolutely no character, but some people love them. If you were to take Necrons constantly at the moment in, let's say, a slightly more competitive setting than your average friendly games, and that happens whether you're at tournament scenes, sometimes that happens at local gaming clubs when arms races start, and that happens everywhere, right? It's not just... it doesn't have to be just restricted to tournament scenes. And if you then were, like I say, getting your pants pulled down, smashed to pieces, no matter who you faced,
And you couldn't
repeatedly
buy a
every
levy.
game, and you can't buy yourself a win, do you think that potentially you might... Your Nids that you love, you have sometimes, quite often, close-knit games with them, and you sometimes win, and sometimes you're very close to winning. Do you think that if you were getting hammered constantly, you might fall out of love with that race because of how poorly they're performing?
I mean, possibly Nids is a bit of a sort of aberration to that, really, because they're sort of like, it's just bodies without number, and you don't really get a sort of personal attachment to specific models, I find, really, because they all get melted down. Well, apart from Jeff, they all get melted down at the end of the day and like reformed on the next planet or the next battlefield. So they're not really kind of individuals per se. It's not like your Space Marine captain or all the rest of it, or your Dark Apostle or whatever, who's forged a narrative and a story. You kind of don't really get that so much with Nids, which is why I would say they're probably not my favourite faction.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
But do you think what I'm saying is...
I know what you're saying.
Let's take Brom.
Yeah, go on.
So, Brom, do we need to ask who your favourite faction is, or are you going to surprise us all?
No, I'm not going to surprise you.
But I'm very disappointed. Ruined my theory.
Go
on.
I have... Ultramarines were not my first army, and I didn't pick them because I picked them because they were blue compared to my red. And I had Blood Angels.
Yes, you did.
Skyhammer in 7th made me paint things blue. And then I didn't want to paint everything red again when 8th dropped, so I stuck with the blue. And it just grew on me. And I do like the Marines is my favourite. Yeah. Marines full stop. Just any Marine.
Exciting.
Yeah, because I love them. Yeah. Their uniform.
Chris, was that sarcasm?
It was very. I'm brushing past it.
If it wasn't, I'm feeling something else.
But their uniform. I like the uniform. I like the tanks. I like the Marines with guns. It kind of fits. Sort of human-esque sort of links.
Super 40k.
Yeah, super 40k to me.
They are the icon. They are the poster boys, aren't they?
Ultramarines just happened to be the fact that I needed them for Skyhammer, and then I had some characters, Tiggy, and I'd already started painting them blue and gold and put transfers on them, and I was like, let's keep going with this. And then actually I started to like it. And there's very little, I think.
So it's interesting. This is different to the other two, right? This is different to both Mike and Chris. So although you liked Marines because of Marines and the lore behind what Space Marines are, you originally started with Blood Angels, who had their own independent codex. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, especially for those of you that have joined since 8th edition's come back, or since 8th edition has arrived, and you've come back to the hobby at that point, 7th edition was listed with things called formations. Skyhammer, that Brom spoke about already, is a type of formation that existed in 7th, which was for Marines, probably their strongest formation.
Yes.
Very, very, very good formation. Lots of things it did. I'm not going to bore you with the details. There's literally no point because it's never going to come back, hopefully, touch wood. But you couldn't do that, as far as I was aware, with Blood Angels. So it had to be normal Codex Astartes, and that's why Brom switched to painting blue. Now, as opposed to what Chris and Mike have said, you're now saying that you did it for hobby reasons first, and then started to love the lore.
I'm not even going to go along the lines of saying that I massively love the lore. I really like the latest 8th edition stuff.
Yeah.
Reading about
Dark
coming
Imperium
back,
and
Dark Imperium, stuff like that. And the latest stuff, so Brothers of Ajax, or Blood of Ajax, is the latest book I listened to recently, and that was awesome to the point where I built a chaplain and built an apothecary and named them the same and stuff. But the and I really like the 8th edition stuff, but the Ultramarines aren't exactly a strong force in the narrative of the Horus Heresy. Actually, you hear about a lot of the others, and then whenever they turn up, they are very uniform. They're great, but it's always in a fighting retreat, and it's not exactly the heroic motion that you hear.
Well, they tend to want to hear. They got the sort of bulk of numbers, haven't they?
Yeah, they got massive.
They draw on a huge population,
and they do come down and they slap you hard, but it's not the same as like reading about Nids or reading about the Blood Angels and actually hearing and reading that story is just a completely different dynamic to the ones that you always hear Ultramarines in.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are books that I just haven't read or haven't got to yet where they are big. Yeah, I've no doubt. I bet there's loads, and haven't quite got there.
Simon's just hit the nail on the head. Ultramarines are the 40k equivalent of the American army, right? Just turn up at the end and claim the victory. That's going to get so much hate from our colonial cousins as well. I love America too, but I just think it's hilarious. Anyway,
but I actually, so I picked armies previously based on what you had and not having the armies that, which is why I was going to ask, did you pick Nids because you started hobbying with us lot as well, and we already had a pile of armies, and you didn't want one the same?
Well, so I started Nids like slightly before, but there's certainly an army that you see less of. So yeah, I did pick them because they're a bit more obscure, and you know, I don't want to face off against the same army. So
my first two armies were Tau and Necron. Which neither one I massively love.
We have a new follower called Please Bend Over. Brilliant. Go on.
Hi Ben.
Neither one I'm a massive fan of. I liked them at the time. I enjoyed playing with them. Kind of. I might not have won. But I think I only got my first draw against Liam with Blood Angels. So and you had to really dial back for that one.
The chat is filling up with some awesome comments.
I haven't got there yet. Sorry.
US Army is the reason why you didn't say that in German. Brilliant. And then the next person was Mohammed Liam. Do Ultramarines have a stratagem that allows friendly fire? Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm sorry, Americans. I do love you. I am planning on going back to America very soon as well, so I probably need to shut up before I get
You may
lynched.
not be welcome.
Don't think I'm going to be allowed back now. Cool. But so you literally decided to go Ultramarines for hobby purposes back in 7th edition.
Yeah.
And then you became invested in the scheme and the way they look and their sort of aesthetic. But you're still not that sold on the lore, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, no.
And yet you would still consider them your favourite faction.
Yeah. They're the most like me, and not that I'm blue all the time, but
I have to shut up because I'm going to. Yeah, okay, go on.
But I like order. I like lines, and I like stratagems.
Tower.
And the tower a bit fishy. So
Okay.
can't.
So all those things, but without the fish.
Tower
Yeah, without
a
the
bit
fish.
fishy.
Yeah, and they've got those slits on their heads.
Yeah, I don't need that in my life.
Oh, the old vagina face. Yeah.
That's it,
Yeah, I know what you're about.
So,
Badge head.
but on the flip side, I quite enjoy.
This is a much worse podcast than usual.
I quite enjoyed all.
I've been away for a while.
Isn't this different to a me and Winter's one? Brilliant.
I've spent so much time with Richie
Yeah. Hi, Richie.
in a bar in Tamworth until 4 a.m.
Naked.
Oh, for goodness sake! I did quite enjoy orcs when I started my little orc army, and I haven't really done too much with it since. But it was quite good fun for weekend
I think for something like orcs, in my opinion, you have to have a certain mindset.
Yeah.
And I sort of touched on this with Winters on Friday.
Like Lagerlout.
When we did when we did a podcast with Winters on Friday, and I kind of told him off a little bit. And I didn't mean to, but I basically said that you're not doing it right because I watched his battle report against you, Mikey P, when he took on your Tyranids, and there was a moment that sticks in my mind, and he knows I've already said this to him on the last podcast, but there was a moment that sticks in my mind whereby he said that truck could charge that, but there's no point. But that's not the Orky way. The Orky way is to charge because that's what you do. And I spoke to him about it, and he agreed, but. When you look at some of our classic orc players, like you say High Balls, and the Claw and people like that, they are orcs at heart, right? Those guys live and breathe green.
When those two were supposed to be on the same side with their orc armies facing off against Winters.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
And it's like,
really
you hold back and hold. No. We're both doing what we want, and we're going forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charge everything.
Screw you, yeah.
I love that.
They were in competition with each other as well, weren't they?
Yeah, I've got to get more kills.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Which is the Orky way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But see, there's a lot of people, I reckon, if you were to ask them the question, who would suggest that orcs are their favourite faction in 40k as well, because they add some sort of comedy to a very sordid, dark galaxy, right?
They've got a lot of randomness in them as well, so it's like you get an excuse to kind of play silly.
Yeah,
because a lot of the time you can't even control what's going on. You know, you might have a strength 1.
It's why I have bubble chuckers.
Yeah. Well, it's like the relic shock attack gun.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing can down a knight in one turn shooting, or it can like fail to kill a primary.
Ridley's quoted Sorcerer Dave, who said he had it right. He said there are orc players and there are players who have orcs. I think that's true. And the thing is, historically, this is interesting actually as well with modern day 40k. Slightly off topic, because. Historically, going to events, and I've been to a fair few, everyone loved the orc player. Now, in the past, it was mostly because their codex was shit.
Because you need to get a win.
And they were still doing it.
But the guy was there to have fun and still bring his orcs.
Totally.
And actually, modern day, that's a little bit different because there are people that have turned up to events, one which me and Bron went to recently, bringing what would be considered competitive orcs. And they play a different way. And it is odd. It's weird for me, who's been involved in 40k for I don't know how long. I mean, probably sort of like 15, 20 odd years, to see someone who doesn't play it an orky way and he's tactically thinking, because there is no tactical thinking to orcs. But anyway, by the by,
line them up on the back.
So your favourite faction, Brom, is Ultramarines? Yeah, it is. Or is it Space Marines?
It's Space Marines, really.
And would you include kind of all chapters in that? Would you encompass
100%.
the Wolves, the Dark Angels, the Blood Angels?
Alpha Legion.
Actually, Alpha Legion, they're half.
No, I mean Loyalist.
Loyalist.
Alpha Legion, come on. You don't know, do you? You don't know.
You don't know.
Typically, I am a good guy. I can't really help it.
See, it's interesting. I would never, ever, ever, ever consider Marines to be one of my favourite factions. But having said that, one of the first series of books I ever read in 40k lore was the Blood Angels Omnibus, which actually, if you haven't read it, is a decent series of books. And then once I'd read the Blood Angels Omnibus, I fell in love with Blood Angels. And I originally had Blood Angels, you remember, Brom?
Yeah.
And I was building a big Blood Angels force. I think that was back in 5th edition-ish.
Yeah.
It's quite a while ago, wasn't it?
When I started, that's when I had the Tau.
Yes, you started with Tau, right?
Yeah.
And they were quite a new faction at that point.
I can't help it.
No, the thing is, the Space Marines, it's funny you say they're the good guys. They're not really the good guys, are they?
No.
I mean, they subjugated the entire galaxy with force and, forced compliance and did some terrible things, whereas the Tau are kind of like...
Did it for the greater good.
guys.
Well, yeah, but they're basically subjugating their own people, through sort of subterfuge and
Is there a good guy?
brainwashing.
There isn't a good guy.
No, that's why it works.
It depends what perspective.
But you can always pick a better guy than you.
Guy.
Cypher's a good guy.
Is the Emperor a good guy?
Cypher is okay.
He's dead.
No, he's
I could ask that question with Winter's not here, but is the Emperor a good guy?
Is he a good corpse?
Is he, though?
He wanted to destroy anybody who didn't
agree with him.
his way,
I don't actually see
And can you
him holding
consider
a
that
door
as
for
being
anyone.
a good guy?
No.
Hey?
He doesn't hold a door for anyone. So.
Oh, I don't think he can move,
true.
mate.
No.
He's
No.
stuck to a chair.
No. I mean, he could be a door stop.
Yeah.
You just sort of kick him off his
But do you see
throne.
what I'm saying, though? So Marines
Yeah.
are poster boys for 40k.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they are portrayed as incredible heroes of the Imperium. They're literally called heroes of the Imperium.
Yeah.
And I would argue that they are on some horrific crusades. My wife on her podcast is reading the very first book, right, Horus Rising.
Correct, yeah.
And in the very first book, spoilers, by the way, if you haven't read it, in the very first book, the Marines of what weren't some, they were Lunar Wolves at the time, the Sons of Horus as we know them now, and subsequently the Black Legion. They made planetfall on this planet, and they killed a false emperor. Essentially, this planet was living its own life.
That really confused them, right?
She's still
massively.
confused. Chris has found out today when Luce was asking her questions.
Oh my god.
She's still confused.
Yeah.
She
goes through a lot of things.
Yeah. To be fair, she gets confused at basic math. But they made planetfall on this planet, and there was this emperor essentially, and he had his own governance and such like.
Yeah.
And the planet was existing fine. They weren't hurting anyone. They weren't doing any damage. All that kind of stuff. And they basically said, "You will comply and bend your knee to our emperor, or else." And they went no, and they got slaughtered.
Yeah.
Does that make them good
They're
guys?
good guys, yeah. Great guys. Yeah.
They got a bit confused when, the emperor died in the second chapter.
In global history, in world history,
emperor.
In world history, whenever any individual has made some sort of crusade across the planet in the name of him being right and everybody else being wrong, we have fought against those people. And there's many occasions where that's happened, and many occasions we've fought against those tyrants. And yet in 40k, we celebrate them as heroes. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And people will throw themselves up. Some people do.
Maybe they're just
They had the race, didn't they? That was in the book.
Yeah. I mean, we're British. We don't have a kind of white history. Yeah, well, it is quite white actually. But we're not whiter than white. We're the empire that spanned the most of the world because we found places that didn't have flags and then put flags down. And said,
as they say, the winner makes the rules.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
One of the things I do love about the 40k narrative as well is we don't, there's some comments in here about what the Emperor's done and stuff. It's really interesting because we don't actually know what his intentions were. Maybe we'll never find out. One of the things I love about the galaxy's narrative in the whole is that there are no fully answered questions. And potentially there could never be a fully answered question because that's what allows us all to immerse ourselves in our own version of the narrative.
Absolutely. And personally, I don't really want the answers as much as I want to read more about what's happening and get these little bits of information. Yeah, but if you actually don't want answers, you're like, oh, I know it now, and then kind of you lose a bit of the mystery.
What's the point
excitement.
in fighting a war when you know the outcome, right?
Well, yeah, totally, yeah. But I mean, if you read like a lot of stuff in the lore, like the Council of Nicaea, I mean, that's just like the way that unfolds. I mean, just the Emperor just kind of ignoring lots of obvious facts, and then just saying, no, you're all stop it.
So are we saying categorically, once and for all, the Emperor's a douche?
Yeah, definitely.
Sweet. Okay, cool. As long as we settled that, look at Brom in the corner.
You agree? Yeah.
So upset.
Brom is actually vibrating. You may think there's some technical issue. No, he's actually vibrating in the corner.
As someone who, so I'll talk about my favourite faction.
Yeah, do that.
And people are going to be massively surprised because I own 5 or 6 factions currently. I have Tau, I have Necrons, I have Chaos, I have some Demons, I have Eldar twice. We've got Imperial Knights, so I've got many factions. Not a single one of those is my favourite faction in 40k. which is quite interesting. I also, before as a sort of a side point, will say that I'm not a massive fan of the Imperium as a big giant war machine. But if I had to pick a favourite faction,
He's going to say squats.
yeah. If I had to pick a favourite faction, I'd probably pick. They're not called the Astra Militarum. They're called the Imperial Guard.
You're in the Guard, son.
And that's not because I am a fan of the Emperor or the Imperium. I'm categorically not a fan of the Emperor and the Imperium. But what I like about the Guard is not, and again, it's got nothing to do with the way they play on the tabletop. I couldn't care less about how they play on the tabletop. It's that sort of similarity to humankind. It's that way you can relate to a guardsman, and you have a guardsman in some of the novels. Essentially, it's amazing, and you have a guardsman in a trench facing a Tyranid horde, and that is pure fear.
Him and his mate.
Now I served in the forces, as most people already know, and that relatability to up against all odds, you and your muckers in the trenches fighting a war is that for me is so relatable to everyday normal human life. And when you, as a member of the forces, you look at the way the Guard are organised, and they have infantry, and they have artillery, and they have tank companies, and I really love that kind of. This is still humankind, but in the far future, fighting all the horrors that the far future has thrown at us.
Well, it's like that heroism in the face of certain and grisly death, isn't it? You know, you're going to die. You know, you're a fraction of a penny as far as the currency of the humanity and the Imperium goes. You know, you just got to.
I think the Guard's amazing.
So
I'm someone who loves, like, for example, I love World War history. I love World War I, World War II. I don't love it in the sense that I love that a war happened, but I love learning about the history of World War I and World War II. There's an amazing series that's currently on, I think, Channel 5 called World War II in Colour, and it's incredible because they've taken loads of footage from World War II. And they've colorised it. I don't know if you saw They Shall Not or They Shall Never Growl, however they titled it, which was the Peter Jackson interpretation he did of World War I footage, and he slowed it down, added audio to it. He did voiceovers telling stories, and he put it in colour. Very moving, amazing. And yet, if you look at the Guard, and it's not just from GW, it's also from Forge World, and you look at what they have, it's very relatable. There's some epic World War I type looking stuff that still exists in the 41st millennium. Yeah. And I think that's why they're my favourite faction in 40k, is because they are relatable to us now in the 21st century. Yeah. We still can relate to the Guard who are in the 41st millennium.
Well, they're certainly the closest to each of us as individuals in terms of, you know, what we could be if we were in the universe.
Weaklings with las guns.
Exactly.
That's the thing. But that's can you? I mean, maybe I'm being very far fetched right now. But when you ask yourself, can you picture yourself as a Tau? Can you picture yourself as a Space Marine? Can you picture yourself as an Orc? It's very hard to. Yeah. Because we have the law that's written, but it's still quite hard to. Can you picture yourself as an Imperial Guardsman in the trench? I think most people could probably say yes, to some degree. Because your imagination, your imagination doesn't have to work that hard for you. It just has to work hard for your surroundings. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, for me, I think 40k is a sort of escapism thing. So like something that's close to or comparatively close to real life is sort of less enticing for me, because it's just about being as far-flung and alien and different as possible.
Absolutely, and that's a massive difference to people. There is no right or wrong.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So some people will prefer a different faction because it's complete and utter escapism. The Eldar, who are probably my second favourite of the factions in total in 40k. Because I'm exactly like you. I'm 100% like you in the terms of, so one of my favourite book series of all time, and I'm glad they did a good job with the films, is the Lord of the Rings series. Love the Lord of the Rings books. Love the Hobbit book. Love the Lord of the Rings series. We won't talk about the films for the Hobbit. But I love. We've spoken about this before. I'm a massive fantasy person. Elves and dwarves and humans in a fantasy setting. I'm a huge fan of that. And I think Peter Jackson did an amazing job with Lord of the Rings. And I think when you look at that universe that exists, I don't necessarily connect with it, but I love that escapism. Yeah. And that's why I'm a big fan of Eldar. So, and that's a polar opposite to Guard, because I can't relate to being an elf. It's impossible.
No, it's very difficult, isn't it? Yeah.
But whereas with the Guard, why they're my favourite over the Eldar, which is converse to you, of course, is because I feel like they are relatable, and I feel like I could, to some degree, as far-fetched as this will sound, I can picture myself there as that guardsman. And when you read a Guard, I'm currently reading a Caiaphas Cain novel. I can't remember the title of the book. It's going to annoy me, but it's very, because he's a commissar. But he's a human. He's a commissar a human commissar. He's from Terra essentially, and you can follow his story in this novel, and it's it's so they've taken things from modern day sort of armed forces type structure and protocol, etc., and they've just tweaked it to make it fantasy, but to still have it relatable to modern day. And I love that. I think that's amazing. And I think a lot of people will, to some regards, pick an army that they relate to slightly. Perhaps Brom's Ultramarines aren't just because they're blue. It's believable that actually, because they're regimented and that appeals to him. They're regimented. They're not restricted. They're
orderly.
Exactly. Exactly. They're orderly and they're sort of professional in what they do, and maybe that talks to him.
Yeah.
And perhaps Chaos talks a little bit to the Rebel and Chris, maybe.
What's the Slaanesh side of it? To me?
Yeah.
I had to take his mask
all
off
about
him for
the
the podcast.
reach
The ball gags, exactly. Which I said it was no good putting that on for a podcast, mate, because you can't talk. Right. Anyway, so I just think that the story of the average human in the 41st millennium is, and there are people out there that would say that Guard are boring. I refuse point blank to call. Of course, I refuse point blank to call them Astra Militarum. People will say Guard are boring, and people will suggest at times that Guard are boring because they're normal, everyday, nowadays type people in the 41st millennium.
They don't have any sort of special powers or anything. They just got flashlights and
flashlights.
Yeah,
that's
right.
what they are.
I had to make sure you pronounce that right. I didn't say but that's why I think they're interesting, and that's what I think the beauty of having this variety of factions is. Because what we'll move on to now, because we've still got time left, we've done our favourite factions, so let's be controversial. Let's flip it on its head, and let's pick our worst or our least liked factions. You started, Mikey P.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw the question straight to you, and it gives Chris and Brom time to think about it.
Yeah. Thanks. That's helpful. I don't know. It is a tough one actually, because there are a few factions I can't see myself at the moment ever playing, but then. Who knows what will happen in the future. You get bored of what you're doing and move on to something else, don't you? So kind of go through all the factions. But I'm not really a big fan of Chaos, personally.
No?
No.
How come?
It seems to be a really popular thing. I don't know. I just... I don't know. Don't know why, really.
Yeah.
No. I don't know.
So you don't have
a... Really.
It's just Chaos. Chaos is your least favourite. You don't have to hate them. You don't have to hate them. As well, you can just not.
I think it's Chaos Marines, to be honest with you. Some of the demons are quite cool. Like the new Slaanesh Moors are fantastic. I think the new the demon press with the sequel.
But now we're talking about an aesthetic and a physical. You're not talking about a lore perspective necessarily, which is interesting because your favourite faction was based on lore.
Yeah.
And when we talk about your least favourite faction, you instantly go to things like model range.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting the question, so I haven't really.
No, it was on purpose. You missed.
I don't really like Guard either. I mean, I've never really thought about wanting to collect a Guard army. It's just not the sort of thing I really want to do. Lots of rank and file cannon fodder. I'd rather they look like Gribblies and.
See, I love this. Is what I love about it. This is categorically what I love about the hobby. You and I play 40k relatively regularly. We talk 40k weekly. We're very, very similar on lots of things, and yet my favourite faction is probably one of your least favourites. Yeah, and that's the beauty of 40k.
It is, isn't it? That's a great thing because that means people who get together and enjoy talking about it, they'll play different armies and then they get experience different bits and bobs. Like a lot of people. So some of my favourite armies to play against will be my least favourite factions. So I don't know if I've played Guard actually, but I quite like playing sort of rank and file troops.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite fun as a Tyranid player, and I think a lot of
chewing
people,
on lots of carcasses.
Exactly, just munching your way through. No, I have played Guard. I play Andy H's Guard, and it's a fun thing to play against because that's what sort of my army is designed to do, is just chew through troops. Yeah. So that's quite a fun thing, and also I think really shooty armies quite enjoy playing NIDs because it's just you get to take a lot of models off the board.
Yeah.
So I think people who dislike certain factions might actually quite enjoy playing against them. I'd never collect orcs either. That's another one I'm not very fussed about. I think you and I are sort of fairly similar in that regard. I don't think you ever really bother about orcs.
They're great fun.
Yeah. Well, I like playing orcs. I mean, despite the fact that 4D always seems to kick the back doors in, I quite enjoy playing. It's always been really fun games.
Off topic ever so slightly, that's something that's very interesting. So Brom's told us his favourite faction is Ultramarines. Well, Marines in general, and we're talking discipline ranks of elite soldiers.
Yeah.
And yet, probably your close second is Orcs.
Yeah, it is.
Now, we're talking about two armies that are basically polar opposites of the scale.
Yeah, completely.
It's my escapism. It's I've done it for so long, painting so much blue that I needed to go somewhere different.
There's a lot of people out there though, that would if you were to talk two or three favourite factions, you could see the similarity. You know,
Yeah, you could see a guard switch, because then I can kind of merge the two together.
I can see you going custody. Yeah, exactly, absolutely. But to go from, and even to some extent, even to go from Marines, and bear with me here, to go from Marines to say Necrons, because they're rank and file and disciplined, because they're mindless robots. But to go from Ultramarines to
Tau, Fire Warriors.
Yeah,
is massive.
Yeah, I know, I love it.
Right, okay.
Really chaotic. Not
it
chaos,
was a complete different learning curve for playing them.
Yeah.
I haven't played them a lot. Weekend of Bernie's was a real steep learning curve. But the taking models off the board so quickly is just really, really depressing. You just have to have a smile on your face.
It kind of is with Niz as well. It's really like the Turbogon, because it brings them back on again.
Unless you're a chalk player, then you don't care.
But you're just pleased.
It was my first game.
So interestingly, one of your least favourite factions you think is Chaos, because you not really fan of the model range. You don't. The aesthetic doesn't sing to you.
I don't know.
Even the new stuff.
It's just a bit too metal.
I'm a metal fan.
Yeah, well, I like metal as well. I do. I like it, but it's just I don't know.
Is there a particular part of Chaos, like even worse, like the least of the least favourite?
It's probably just the Chaos Marines. I think the new Marine kit's kind of alright, but the Baroque look of it doesn't really do it for me particularly. Okay. Yeah, all the sort of metal trim and that. It's just
Viking XDK, and I 100% agree with this comment, has said, too metal, is that even a thing?
Yeah. Yeah,
you're right, Viking.
It's like almost cliche.
You can come on next week, Viking, and Mikey can't. Yeah, Anyway, Chris, have you got a least favourite 40k faction and why?
Don't say Ultramarines. We are friends.
Currently.
That's why I stumbled so much, because I was going to say Smurfs. But
it's funny when we say least favourite. Again, it doesn't essentially mean that you hate them.
No, you don't.
Of course, that's why I didn't say one you hate. I just said least favourite.
And you could own them, because you just fell out of love.
I don't hate any of the factions, and I think
like a Smurf pimp.
My least favourite, again, it's weird. It goes against the law thing as well, because it's probably Knights at the moment.
Okay,
all right. And I actually kind of like the idea of Knights. I like the kind of idea of these kind of noble houses, and
they are lots of fun.
But at the same time, I think they're just such a boring game to have against Mono Knights. I don't enjoy it at all. Might just be my armies are less tailored towards fighting very sort of strong single. I
don't think you're alone there. I mean, it's fun playing Knights, because it's like there's less pressure on your brain. When Brom and I went to the doubles tournament, it was great fun, because we only had 7 models.
Yeah. We call Knights playing 40k on easy mode, and people seem to often get that confused as well. What I mean by that isn't that we're saying that you can win every game with them. No. Categorically not, because if that was the case, you would see Knights topping ITC charts and stuff all over the place. What I mean by easy mode is, there is a little bit less thinking when you have 6 or 7 models to worry about.
And no psychic
that means 6 or 7 6 7 stat lines. And to be fair, you can be against some, or maybe more often than not with most opponents, you can be a little bit more reckless, because they have that like inbuilt survivability kind of.
Strategy wise, you know what to target as well. It's not like, am I going to stop their anti-infantry stuff first, or it's just destroy anything that can do multi-damage to me and things like that.
You can take out their las guns before you take out their flashlights.
To be fair, that is where we went when we played the played an Imperium army, hit the Predator with the Trilasp, and then hit the Raven Guard with the plasma.
And
everything else didn't really care. Out of range.
They're just not bringing the fun aspect as much.
I get that. I mean, when you're facing off with a normal army, to play against. Totally. When you've got like loads of like bolters, against tough 8 opponents.
I will play them. I played them. I didn't get salty at all, and I played them a couple of weeks ago.
At least in this edition as well, at least even if you have toughness 3 fleshlights, at least you can still wound Knights.
You said it wrong.
Oh, did I? Oh, okay. Whoops. At least you can still
fleshlight.
Yeah, you said it wrong.
At least you can still wound Knights now. Whereas in 7th you couldn't.
Which I like.
There was a chat at one stage in Discord saying, "Oh, bring back the old damage, the old strength versus toughness table."
Thanks.
God no.
I like the ability that anyone can do something. It's still hard to roll 6s everywhere. All right, totally. Fire, weight of dice is better.
There's math that's been done about things like las guns taking on things like Knights, and how many dice you need to, so it's not like it's a viable tactic to flood the field with guards and take down an Imperial Knight. from a narrative perspective, I fully understand how you don't want a strength 3 guardsman's weapon to be able to take the last win of the night.
Yeah.
Fully get that, 100% from a narrative perspective. I get
But
that.
if you've got 30 of those blokes with flashlights, then you stand a more reasonable chance of plinking that last wound off.
But what I'm saying is although I get the narrative behind saying no, from a simplicity kind of point of view for the game, and 2 for like to some extent an enjoyability. At least if the person does rock up with a Knight Army and does take some of your big heavy hitters off really early, at least although you're probably thinking you're doomed, at least you know that your whole army can still hurt that night.
Yeah, while you're mathematically doomed, it's not physically impossible.
It's still a dice game.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's still a dice game, and although mathematical averages will tell you that you're going to lose, we all have those games where the averages don't work in our favour in either a positive or a negative way.
I've taken off the last wound on a Night Crusader with Jeff, the
Termagant.
That's because
in
the
combat.
dice gods are real.
Yeah,
they are real.
The dice gods are real. I'm telling you now. When you're in that
Yeah.
positive zone, you can roll some crazy stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's why Mr. Byrne hates the CP rerolls so much, because let the dice decide.
Yeah,
he's taking some flack for that.
Yeah, I know.
And
I just quite enjoy taking flack, to be honest.
To be fair,
everyone's too nice to that man a lot of the time.
And as much as I fully agree with you in that respect, I'm going to defend him on camera and say that I have no problems categorically with anybody who turns up to the studio to play who wants to use command point rerolls. I do. I've got no problems with it. And if someone picks up a dice against me and uses a CP reroll, I will quite happily do the same thing. I have no problem with CP rerolls. Andy's coming to film tomorrow.
Cool.
And he will not roll a CP reroll.
But you know what your mission is, don't you?
Make him do it.
Try and make him do it.
I'm tempted to build a list with as many CPs as I can get and just use them all on rerolls to see if his head explodes. But
Play narrative, yeah.
But I don't have any problem with him not using CP rerolls either. In all seriousness, because I do agree to some extent, in fact to quite a large extent, that some of the epic moments from what I would consider my 40k are a little bit lost because of CP rerolls.
And Jeff took down the Crusader at Weekend at Bernie's because there's no CP rerolls.
Yes.
If it had, then Russell would have re-rolled that 1 or 2 and got a 4, and then his knight would have stood.
That's the annoying thing, because a lot of the really exciting rolls are happening between warlords and people who are 2 up to do whatever they need to do. So that you're nearly always taking something away from that really low chance of failing.
Yeah.
So what
really sucks when you fail a charge, though.
So I believe
really sucks.
I believe, and now I'm someone who does in generic terms, especially on YouTube battle reports, I use CP rerolls, and the reason why I do that is because that is currently 40k, and people that come and watch battle reports on the channel want to watch current 40k.
That's the expectation.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But
you get shouted at if you don't.
I will actively state as well that I do think sometimes that what I would call the epic 40k moments for me, when your guardsman stands there against a Space Marine captain and takes 3 Thunderhammer hits and doesn't die, and the point we've spoken about this before, Brom, didn't we?
Yeah.
At that point where that's happened, and we get like it, I'm not ashamed to admit, and they'll be cheering and shouting, and it ruins it a little bit when that bloke goes, "Oh, I'll use a reroll." And then he's dead.
It does. Yeah.
Oh well, that's that moment gone.
And I think we're retracing our ground here anyway. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if CP rerolls kind of go in the future.
Maybe.
I mean, I think they originally brought in to give us something to spend our CP on.
Some of the most epic moments that I've had in 40k are once we've used CP up on stratagems. And the other thing that annoys me about the CP reroll as well is it's such an easy stratagem to use. People seem to forget it's a stratagem. It's such an easy stratagem to use, and there are so many cool narrative stratagems in so many of the books. Unless you're a Space Marine player.
Exactly.
I'm not being horrible.
No, knows. Previously proven.
I love he did orbital strike. And it was still pants.
One more
couldn't miss with playing against orcs, and he missed. It was like,
so Brom,
do
you have a least favourite 40k faction?
I do.
Okay, it would help us for a podcast if you were to tell us that.
I will now tell you about it. It's actually a demon.
Okay.
But it's specific demons, because actually I like certain demons. I actually like the Khorne demons.
Okay.
Mostly because I play a lot of them and then I get to see them a lot. And the spiky hit things is quite good. Choppy. Eat. But Slanesh.
No, don't say Slanesh.
Sorry. But they seriously.
Like a dagger in your heart.
I just don't get it. I don't get the... I can kind of get on board with.
Because it's the vices of
No, I just
humanity,
can't.
isn't it? Okay,
Yeah.
no, fine.
But I don't know. I just can't. I don't like them.
Chris, you're talking to an ultramarine.
Yeah, no. The whole point of chaos is that it
like the
represents-
Seeker models
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
I don't get. I don't like them. I don't.
They've
The
got
stupid
quite a lot of
tongues
stuff
and
going on, haven't they?
it just
Yeah.
don't. I don't quite get.
They got a lot of tits.
Yeah. And now that I just don't.
That's the only aspect you're on board with.
Yeah.
I feel like this podcast is going to have to come with an age restriction.
I just don't. I'm not a fan. Like Noel has a whole army of them, and they are painted very
Played them
well.
the weekend, last
Did you?
weekend.
And he loves them, and I have no doubt he loves them. And I've played against an army of Seekers and Slaanesh models, and they look lovely, and they died really easily, so that was great. But
not when I played them.
it was.
I died really easily.
Anyway, I was Marines. Though.
It was stuff, there you go. You got power armor.
Yeah, and
Apparently they're very, very strong in Age of Sigmar,
Oh,
according to a friend of mine. Yeah,
oh, that's cool.
so in 40k,
They've
Seekers
just got
and
a new
Slaanesh is
codex or
awful.
battle tome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Knights of Slaanesh.
It's closely followed by Necron.
Yeah.
Necron, you don't like Necrons?
I have them. No, I don't. I might have got rid
No,
of them.
you gave them all to someone.
Yeah,
Anyway,
cool.
Why?
I got rid of them because they're just a bit boring.
Boring.
The flavour used to be there, and I kind of like that. But
it's interesting because they currently have
Don't
more
see
flavour than they ever had before.
I
Because
know.
what they did is that when they originally launched Necrons, they were originally launched as a mindless robotic race.
Yeah.
And then what they started to do as there's a narrative developed for them was introduce these mental characters. And they started to have more sort of sentience to them. They started to have more like character.
Yeah.
And a lot of people actually said that made them worse. Because they didn't want that. They wanted the mindless robot, the mindless kill everything robots. So it's interesting that you say that their narrative's now really boring and it used to be okay, and actually people would argue that they have more narrative now than they did
probably
before.
do. I think I've developed as a 40k hobbyist, and now I don't see enough of it. Maybe my expectation is that it should be a little bit more. Maybe I'm just not involved in Necron enough to see it, and I'm sat too far away from them to care. So I'm sat in my power armor, drinking my tea. Why worry about Necron? So maybe that's it. But I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm alright playing it.
I don't really get Necrons either.
I just don't get it anymore.
I kind of like the sort of Egyptian aesthetic, but I prefer it more for Thousand Suns than I do for Necrons.
I think they have a
Thousand
stronger
Suns are cool. Very cool.
theme.
Yeah,
Thousand Suns are very cool.
Yeah, I do actually like them.
But
Chaos faction.
the armor, like
I'm not
Liam
painting
was
them.
building with the armored Thousand Suns, power suit only, all is dust. Actually, massive fan of that.
They've got some great
Sorceries everywhere.
backstory as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thousand Suns.
Thousand Suns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Burning of Prospero is good.
Really. Like
I'm
all the stuff
struggling.
that happened.
Oh, really?
I'm listening to Burning a Prospero as an audiobook, and I'm very, because I tend to consume my lore now back and forth to work each day,
Yeah.
and I'm genuinely struggling. And I think it's not necessarily the book, but I think it's the narrator.
Oh, really?
I listened to what's the book?
Thousand Suns.
No,
Thousand Suns.
I listened to we were talking about earlier, Talon of Horus and Black Legion.
Yeah.
The narrator is probably one of the best. I can't remember his name.
Jonathon Gordon.
Thank you, Jonathon Gordon.
Okay.
Excellent narrator of audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to Caiaphas Cain, and the narrator for that book is actually very, very good as well. And then going back to, so I started listening to Burning a Prospero, and I've switched back to Caiaphas Cain because I struggled to connect with that narrator.
Okay.
I'm not saying the book's bad.
Yeah, no, it's a different thing, isn't it?
Of course.
Audiobook versus written word, but yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I didn't like the guy who did Fulgrim. Didn't
I
enjoy that one.
couldn't stand that.
Yeah,
Didn't like that
honestly.
one.
he's really off.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I like the book.
Doesn't like Slaanesh. Does like Fulgrim.
Yeah.
Now there's a difference. Pre-transformation and fight against Puerto Robo,
Yeah.
quite liked him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. As soon as he became a snaky dick, I don't.
Oh, okay.
It
As
just
soon as he became a snaky dick.
a snaky
Brilliant.
winged dick.
Yeah.
I
I've
just
got some
don't get it.
Japanese
Okay.
animation
I hate
you
it.
might enjoy.
Yeah, probably. Well,
So interestingly,
Kruse.
my least favourite faction in 40k is probably
Yeah.
going to have a lot of people raging if I was to pick one. And you just mentioned
Grey
earlier.
Knights.
Do you know what? I don't like Grey Knights, but that's not the one.
Right.
I
like
don't
Grey
like
Knights.
Grey Knights at all. Because I think Grey Knights are like Custodian's poor cousins. There's no need for them. They shouldn't exist.
Yes.
I can guess it.
Which actually in the lore and the narrative is not true, because Grey Knights are supposed to be some super powerful race. Chris, you said you can guess it. Go on.
Go on.
Admech. Oh,
Yeah, he hadn't thought about it.
Admech is so insignificant.
I quite like Admech. I thought about getting them instead of Tyranids, actually.
I hadn't thought about them.
I hadn't thought about it. Oh, maybe then. No, they're not.
We've talked
like
about
Admech.
this.
For me, Admech have zero character.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? What about the baby blob thing in Necromunda?
That is.
Oh, the floating testicle.
No, it's not testicle. It's blue tack if you dropped in your bits box. Then you come back out again.
So I don't. Okay, so I don't like. You're right. I don't like Admech. I'm not an Admech fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they have near enough. I mean, they're designed to have zero character. That's the whole. That's how servitors and robots work.
Well, they're kind of more like what Necrons used to be in a way, aren't they?
Kind of, yeah.
Because they're all a bit
But I
brainless,
also
following the hive mind.
I do
sort of
really
thing.
like the Admech infantry aesthetic on the whole, and I'm talking about infiltrators and Sicarian Ruststalkers at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But I detest all the vehicles personally. I don't like Dune Crawlers. I don't like the
cool.
Ballistari. I don't like the Dragoons.
Oh, what the
Green
tissue
thing.
box?
Yeah, the tissue.
I haven't seen that enough yet
The
to
new
comment
thing.
on that one.
Oh,
But I've not heard great stuff.
No.
So
Yeah.
I am not a
A
fan
landing ship.
of Admech. That's true. However, they're not my least favourite.
This is exciting now, isn't it?
My
Yeah,
least
it's all right. The
favourite
tension's palpable, isn't it?
are orcs.
Yeah.
So I think Eldar. So we talked about this before. I love fantasy stuff. I've already discussed this. I think Eldar. They've managed to transmute to the 41st millennium really well, and they've developed a lore to them that makes the Elven race kind of fit the galaxy.
Yeah.
I think the orcs, for me personally, I'm not saying this is what people should think, but I think that they haven't transmuted as well.
Yeah.
Technology works because they believe it does.
Yeah, that's cool and orky.
No, I'm not a big fan either.
But then you're not orky.
Doesn't
No,
make any
I'm not
sense.
That's the
orky.
thing. You've got to be.
Despite having the physique of one,
Yeah.
I'm not orky at all. I'm not, and I don't like that. And I think. So the orcs narrative, you could take, for me personally, you could take orcs out of the narrative for 40k, and Tyranids already fill that void of a Xenos race that's just hunger for war.
Yeah, I think it's the humour thing, isn't it? But I don't really personally feel like there's much room for humour in it. 'Cause it's a grim dark. It's
there
not
is
the
some
grim,
orc-
slightly amusing dark.
There is
it?
some orc narrative out there that takes away that humour, and it gets quite dark and horrible.
Like the Beast
and
that Rises. And all
yeah,
that lot,
that's quite interesting. That's more interesting to me as a narrative perspective.
Their narrative in the Blood of Ajax was really good, actually, and it wasn't humoury. There was all of these little snipey little bits and bobs as they all were fighting and tussling, and the big like war boss, and his struggle to survive because he was dying inside, and this pain boy just kept jabbing him with like basically adrenaline, and him on the hunt for a white beaky to help fix him because he was dying and he needed to be bigger and stronger, and so he'd gone too far, and then he was, and it was actually quite
moving, gripping.
Yeah, I felt sorry for him, and then the Marines turned up and kicked his door.
That's good writing, though. All right,
Yeah,
okay.
it is, yeah.
And like Karl Marx just said in the chat, try reading The Beast that Rises. I've heard about that. I haven't read The Beast that Rises yet.
No,
But it's
same.
on my
No,
to-read
it's on my
list.
list.
I've heard that is something that would potentially change my mind about orcs. If someone and this is the thing, I'm taking nothing away from people who love orcs or their hobby is orcs, but when they turn up, they make a laugh and a joke of them.
Yeah.
Which I've got nothing against you doing that if that's your 40k.
Well, if you want to
Categorically.
have a couple of beers and have a lark and just laugh with your
Absolutely
mates.
no problem with people treating them silly and deciding to write all their words like a 6-year-old child's done it, and that's how you talk. That's fine.
They all seem to have like colloquial British accents as well.
Yeah. I've got no problems. I've got no problems with people enjoying that. Absolutely no problems at all. And if people want to bring that to the channel, you crack on, and I'll have a great game. I have no problems about that because every time I've ever played an orc player, I've had fun. So I'm not necessarily saying orc players are boring, but for me, I would love to see a really evil, dark-looking orc like a really evil-looking thing. Like a really angry Xenos race that is out to murder and butcher.
Yeah.
And then that for me would be something that I
You
would
want
find more
orc
interesting.
berserkers. That's what
Yeah,
you want.
or like the Sigmar orcs are a bit more like that.
No,
aren't
they ride space
Little bit,
pigs.
but
They ride space pigs. The Ard boys
Space
are
pigs.
just that's what my wife calls them. So when are you getting some space pigs? I went, they're 50 quid. No,
Yeah.
for 3. No.
And I would also
You know,
I would also massively agree with Chris as well. Another unfavoured faction for me currently, and we have an army of these, which will tell you that I like the lore, I like the models, but I think for me, pure knight armies. I'm not a massive fan of them in 40k. I've spoke before, right, about 40k fixes and stuff, and I've suggested that one of the things that might be worth looking at is now they're bringing out apocalypse rule sets essentially. I don't understand necessarily why we need super heavies in normal 40k games of say under 2,000 points. I wonder if they they take away from part of what I know as 40k, because now, especially if you're going to go to something that's slightly more competitive than, say, coming to our channel, so it's not a massive problem for our channel because we can aim off for it, but otherwise people have to prepare for a night. Don't you really? If you're going to go,
yes, you have to have some sort of strategy to deal with it.
And if you then face that army and they take out that strategy to deal with a night straight away, the game, like Chris has touched on, is to a degree a little bit less fun for the other player.
Yeah.
It's fixed to an extent because, like we spoke about, you can still take it out with anything. You just need the dice gods in your side. So yeah, but
the law's quite limited in at least on what I've been exposed to. I've read a lot of the Horus Heresy books, but typically the knight lore is you learn quite a lot about one knight's crew.
Yeah.
So it's massively focused on it, and I know there's a few instances where they talk about all the warhounds. They get packs of warhounds.
That's not knight.
They're titans with
Well,
crew.
yeah,
Knight
they're-
is
they're-
like one dude in.
Knight's a
And
single
then-
pilot.
Yeah.
You hear about warhound crews as well, and that's where I'm going.
All right, sorry.
It's fine. No, you crack on.
Breaking
Crack
Bad.
on.
But the
But that
Legio,
whole point is-
Legio Titanicus is different to the knightly houses.
It
They're
Yeah,
completely
it's a
separate.
different organisation,
You-
isn't it?
you're
Because
not
the Legio
getting-
Titanicus is attached to the Imperial Army, whereas the Knights are their own separate entity
Yes.
that sometimes come along for
Completely.
the ride sort of thing. So.
You,
They
you
get
don't
hired
hear
as,
about
hired
you don't hear
guns,
about lots of them.
No.
You
So
don't
interesting.
hear about a whole house.
Simon
No, I
says,
agree. You don't.
Simon says this happened with War Machine when they introduced Colossus, and I don't know what that means, but it's interesting that it's happened in other gaming systems. It's almost like it happens in computer games as well, and companies just try and go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And introducing flyers and super heavies in 7th was an attempt to let's add an extra dimension to the game.
Yeah.
Anyway, they aren't my least favourite faction because I own knights. I categorically like knights and I like knightly armies. And if I've got a knightly army facing off against someone else's knightly army, brilliant.
That's great fun, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, night off.
But yeah, I'm not a big fan of orcs. Now there was a comment much further up that did also say no one's mentioned Sisters of Battle. It's hard for me to place them because I've never come across them.
Yeah.
See, I remember when the Ecclesiarchy and the Inquisition first came out, like way back when, like 3rd or 4th edition, whenever it was, and they started off with the retinues, and they had like the Inquisitor, like the Witch Hunter, or the Ordo Malleus or whatever, and then they had all the Crusaders and the weird like cultist type guys, and they had those retinues and things, and they were really cool. And then you'd have like it's the Order Hereticus, isn't it, primarily with the Sisters of Battle, and they have the pain engines and all that sort of stuff, and the Arco-Flagellants and things. And that was really interesting, all the different bits and bobs and the lore behind them, where they've come from, and how they're basically paying repentance or whatever. I quite enjoyed that personally.
It may be slightly controversial, but I don't even consider them an army. The reason I don't is because Sisters of Silence, I see them as a strap-on, but the like custode strap-on. But they're really good, like little.
Sounds painful.
When you read about them, there's a small force with your main Ultramarines, they're pushing forward together.
Well,
or Prospero with the wolves.
Totally.
And they're there as a tool to help aid fill one of the slots of the Marines are crap it.
Totally, yeah.
They have a point. Yeah, Sisters of Battle. I just don't read about them a lot.
Well, they didn't exist in the Horus Heresy, did they? Yeah. So
there's a lot about them, and a lot of legendary talk about their models and being epic, and everyone wants them. But maybe I haven't been around long enough to know what they were. And
I couldn't tell you where the release date is currently for Sisters of Battle because I'm not bothered. Now, Sisters of Silence, so it's got nothing to do as well with them being Sisters of Battle. Sisters of Silence, I think, are cool as hell.
Yeah, super.
Like, genuinely think they're cool as hell.
The way they're described in the Horus Heresy novels is cool.
They're described really well,
Yeah, absolutely.
Complete
Sisters of Battle, and possibly, like you, I hadn't considered them, and possibly part of the reason is because their metal model range is so ancient and it's so expensive and heavy that people just don't have them and you don't see them very often. No. Maybe that will change. Maybe when their release comes and they drop this massive plastic release out, and I wouldn't mind betting you'll see a lot of Sisters of Battles pop up.
Yeah, you totally will. I mean, before the new Nurgle Plague Marine stuff came out, Death Guard stuff came out, you never saw them, do you really?
Not really, no.
Because they didn't have a model range that was worth.
And they got their own decent codex and a decent model range. Absolutely.
So you'll see loads of Sisters of Battle when it comes.
I like Death Guard.
They'll all come out of the woodwork.
It's got a beta codex, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
In chapter approved. Yeah.
Brom, did you say I like Death Guard?
Yeah.
So 2020, Brom has a Death Guard army.
No, yeah, but you wouldn't see any of the crap coming out of the like.
You
they
can't.
have to be
What
Mate,
you do? You
can't-
just scrape all the guts off and then refill it with like Milliput or something.
Yeah, they've got to be military. Like they're in their arm.
At which point they stop becoming Death Guard.
So you want a 30k Death Guard army?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I quite like the 40k models. Though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
Apart from all
maybe
the
I'll just have
guts
to get
and-
on board with the stupid stuff
They've
sticking
got a
out
lot
of
of
them.
like
Yeah, tongues.
things and
Mouths in the
Mouths,
wrong places. Yeah.
I think for a hobbyist, they're an amazing challenge because
Yes.
they offer something a little bit different to what you would normally, I think, find. From
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
And they've got a lot of character. And some of their models have got like the who's the dude who's got the two bodyguards. He looks really silly. He's got a stupid cheesy grin on his face.
Oh, Lord Felthius.
That's the one. Yeah.
I thought you were like me.
Yeah, he's kind of like you, but in Nurgle form.
You got a silly grin.
Yeah, silly grin. But they've got a little bit element of that sort of silliness about them, like orcs in a way. You know, it's a difficult kind of flavour of it. But
I'm not long finished Fight of the Eisenstein, and the Death Guard in that, I love Death Guard in that book. And I had previously built a load of Death Guard stuff. And what happened is when Winters and I merged and we launched Deployment Zone, I gave him pretty much all of it.
It didn't make sense to do.
He already had the end of all things being painted up. They were nearly finished. I said, you know what? What's the point of us both having Death Guard? You have my Death Guard stuff. And what I'd done on purpose, genuinely with them, is I'd removed all the silly Nurglings.
Yeah.
Because I don't like it personally. Now, I love Death Guard, like Brom, but I like that evil, decaying pestilence. This happy, cheerful grandfather Nurgle thing, I'm not about that. That's not what I love.
They're Mortarian's men. That's what they're meant to be. This coming in and walking towards it.
This
Dower, I think it's the word you're looking for.
Brom sound effects coming out soon. And they've had like their shoulder blasted off and they don't even notice. And their guts out.
Today we paid for After Effects, and little did I know, I didn't need him.
No.
I just need a Brom and his Death Guard noise, which goes like this.
I'm not doing it again.
Oh,
you'll have to cut it out.
Oh,
but no, that's the thing, isn't it? So the Death Guard are they're defined as being sort of taciturn, sort of steadfast warriors, just marching forward, relentless march forward, and brutal and that. And then the Death Guard range in 40k has got these silly little Nurglings that are all dancing around with, like sassy poses,
and their little quotes are always a bit jolly as well. Now it's like brothers, welcome.
Totally.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
right.
Which I quite like for the Nurgle demon side of things. That's quite cool because you've got like the garden.
To the left of us now, we have the new Warhammer soundboard.
Yeah,
this is brilliant.
We'll get some flashlights on the go.
So we've got Brom's Nurgle noise that goes like this.
Any requests?
And we've got Chris's Nurglings that go like this.
Oh,
it's brilliant.
Mikey, please flashlight.
Anywho. Okay, we need to draw this to a close because I've got a wife to keep happy, and this is going to devolve into something ridiculous if we carry on. It's already been a bit messy. Yeah. So we'll go for one final closing question. Mikey P, if you had to collect a new army tomorrow that you don't currently have, what would it be?
Eldar.
Interesting, okay. Do you not have them as a kill team already?
Yeah, that's not 40k. That's a kill team.
Touche, okay.
Andy Byrne would say different.
Chris, and you can't say Tau because you just bought a load.
I just bought them, yeah.
So you've already got them. So if you had to collect another army that wasn't Tau tomorrow, go.
Gene Stealer Cults.
Ooh.
I wouldn't have gone that, but
I like Gene Stealer Cults.
Too many different textures.
Apparently Death Guard.
Brilliant. Okay.
Looking forward to that.
You know what? I think I'd pick up Tyranids.
Yeah.
Because there was some lore that I read in I think it was an old Imperial Guard Codex. There was some lore, and there was a guardsman at some outpost, and there was this hissing noise that started, and it basically talked about the oncoming fleet of Tyranids that hit the planet, and I love that.
That's cool,
narrative. Yeah, it was just this dark hissing.
Just get a kill team.
Just to kill team.
The Blood Angels bit that you've read before is really good, isn't it?
4 lictors for a kill team.
We will pick we'll pick Andy Burns' brains tomorrow about just to kill team. Thanks to Simon, who's just shared a Twitch clip of Brom's sound effect. That's brilliant.
Excellent.
My wife's just walked in and said, "Is that right?" Said Fred. Which one? Which one of the two?
Behave.
Anywho, right, okay. Perfect. That's the end of the podcast for tonight. I hope you guys have really enjoyed it. As per usual, those of you on Twitch will hang around for a couple more minutes and just have a generic chin wag whilst I drink more juice because Yeah, I'm thirsty.
'Cause you've done your
But
beers
for those of you
yeah.
on YouTube, that is it. We are going to go and say goodbye very soon. If you want to come and join us live on Twitch, you just have to head on over to Twitch, search for Morehammer Liam, because I couldn't have Morehammer. Hit follow, and you'll get a notification every time we go live. If you decide you want to become a Patreon, it also gives a little notification in Discord every time we go live, so you will never miss a podcast if you're free. If you want to support us on Patreon, there is a link below in YouTube. There is normally a link below in Twitch as well on our Twitch page. You can scroll down, click the Patreon button, and you can come in, and for as little as $2 a month you can come and join our Discord community, which is now at over 120 members. It's exploding. There's loads of people joining us. It's amazing. We talk about this kind of stuff 24/7, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Mikey P started as a Discord, as a patron in Discord. Chris is a patron on Discord. Brom's just Brom. But most of the chat that you won't see on the screen if you're watching on YouTube has come from patrons. They are legends. All of you are absolute heroes. Thank you so much for joining us week in, week out. Thank you for being so awesome in Discord, and thank you for being involved in all of our awesome community events such as Weekend at Bernie's and No Surrender and all that kind of stuff as well. Yeah. It's amazing. We're hoping to have one or two of the organisers of the No Surrender 2 on relatively soon. I need to organise that with you, The Claw, so we can have a chat with them on the podcast and talk about No Surrender and why they came up with the rules they came up with and why they put it together the way they do.
I'll keep it stum until then.
Yeah, please do. I'm hoping to do it like next week or the week after with the Claw,
and
I need to organise a test run with him for audio and stuff. But yeah, he's up for it, and I'm really excited to get him on to chat about No Surrender 2 because people seem to have an excellent time.
It was great.
It was awesome.
Even when it involved going out on the drink in Tamworth, right?
Yeah, anyway. It was a night to remember. Yeah. I'm just going to say one thing. Fungus the Bogeyman.
And if you enjoy the battle reports we put on the channel, we're filming another one for YouTube with Andy Byrne tomorrow. At the time in which this video comes out, it will be today that we're filming it. If you enjoy those battle reports and you want more of those, you can head on over to www.deploymentzone.tv. We put a battle report on that website every single Tuesday without fail for over a year now. We have other content on there. Currently we're releasing a series of videos which are painting tutorials from Rob Not Steve, who painted Winters' Death Guard, The End of All Things.
Really good.
We have Winters' top tips on there which give you tips about how to play 40k and be a little bit cheesy. Brom, you should probably watch those. We've also got other things like the big debates on there which are really cool. We have DZHQs, which is where Winters and I sit and chat crap basically on a video.
Ramble.
The next DZHQ we're filming is this Wednesday. And we are filming about what is happening at the DZTV Open Day. Tickets will be on sale very soon from Element Games. We're talking about things like a big debate that's live where people can challenge myself or Winters, and he wants to call it like a mass debate. And then we've got a live DZHQ, and there'll be Q&A sessions and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to it.
Mike Man.
I think I've covered absolutely everything, I think. Oh, massive shout out and thank you to our sponsors, Element Games, in the top left-hand corner.
Yep.
There are links to Element on DZ and on YouTube. If you follow those links, it uses an affiliation link, and Element know that you've come from us, and they show us some love as well, so please use those links. Thank you very much. Mikey P, anything you want to
add? No.
Perfect. Chris,
sound effects.
This is your time. This is your moment, Chris. This is your moment. Anything you want to add?
I've got about 6 upturned pints of water in my groin right now.
Okay.
Because of the heat in here, so
it's hot under the filming lights, isn't it?
That's all I want to add, yeah.
All right. Thanks for sharing.
And these seats are kind of leathery as well.
How was your experience? You were
it's enjoying the sweaty undercarriage.
Being trapped between two lovely men is
that's true, actually,
wanted,
Chris.
Really. Yeah.
You are the first patron to join us live on a podcast.
Yeah.
It was accidental.
In the room.
I was already here, so it was just like default.
Sorcerer Dave has dialed in before, but you're the first person to join us live in the studio.
So, what did you have to do to be awarded that pleasure?
Can't say on camera. Can't say.
All right, okay.
Yeah. How was the tea?
It's just I've got. No.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. This podcast episode,
walking like John Wayne.
This podcast episode is already going to be called Flashlights and Strap-Ons. So I mean, brilliant.
Flashlights.
It's already gone too far anyway.
Mikey Brom, anything you want to add?
I have nothing to add.
Perfect. Hang around on the chat Twitch. We'll probably go raiding someone soon. We have a few out there: Studio J7, Dark Artisan, Sorcerer Dave, Mohawk Minis. We'll have a chat about who we're going to raid in a minute, but we will raid someone. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Love you, bye.
We missed that for 2 weeks. We missed that.
I know, right?
I did it. A really bad version.